team building in Wuthering Waves is the best among big gacha games. Why? Here's why. Subscribe! Hello, R7 here. Welcome back to my video. Before we start this video, I want to say thank you for likes and support in the previous video. I appreciate it so much. Now, please like this video and subscribe if you are new in the channel for more Wuthering Waves content in the future. Now, let's get to the meat and potatoes. So, recently I heard about a prominent creator in gacha space named Pars said that Wuthering Waves team building has some problem. Please, don't go to harass the person. Saintontas basically already murdered him, and we don't need to beat the dead horse at this point. I believe he learned from his mistake, and I truly hope he comes back stronger and became a better creator in terms of representing the current state of the game. But now, I want to give my 2 cents of the matter. Okay, the first point I want to refute is DPS will be compared to other DPS even if they are in the different elements or different playstyles. I think that is unavoidable in a game like this. Now, I don't know how it works in honkaistarrail and zanelesszonezero, but I played genshinimpact. When a new DPS comes, they are basically comparable to other DPSs. Because in the end of the day, the cost of investment of these characters are still the same. Unless you aren't fighting against the enemy with the same element, any DPS can still flourish. But still, people are going to ask if A character or B characters are worth to pull and build. So, comparison to each DPS is unavoidable by nature, even if they have different elements and different playstyles. Second point I want to refute is about there is no specialist. Like for example, Shenhe is a buffer for cryo, Chevrus is a buffer for overloaded team, and many others. While it is true that current Wuthering Waves roster don't have that much of specific playstyle in terms of support and sub-DPS, it is not entirely bad thing in my personal opinion. Let's take some example. Jeje is a Glacio and Resonance skill buffer. Yes, she would be the best to be used in Glacio DPS that utilizes Resonance skill like Ling Yang or probably Charlotta in 2.0. But she's still pretty much decent unit to be used with other Glacio DPS such as Sanhua if you want to use her that way, or DPS that utilizes Resonance skill like Jinshi and Changli. So, when you pull for Jeje, you have abundance of team to put her in without feeling fucked or feeling that your pull being wasted. While on the other hand, you like Shenhe, you want to main her, but unless you are building her as DPS like a madman you are, she is useless out of free steam, with only viable teammate DPS like Ayaka, Ganyu, and Risley. I love Risley by the way. While if you pull for Jeje, you can still put her in a team with Ling Yang, Jinshi, Changli, probably Carlotta, and even Yinlin DPS. Genshin is 4 years old, and Shenhe only has 3 great pairings. Wuthering Waves is 7 months old, and Jeje can be paired with 5 characters. Maybe in 2 or 3 years, Wuthering Waves will have that special teams, with the buffers like Shenhe with free steam and Chevrus with overloaded. But at the very beginning of the state of the game, this design kit of these characters are completely fine in my personal opinion. The third point I want to tackle is having specific teams is not necessarily a good thing. In the last part of the video, Fars said that Wuthering Waves doesn't have distinction of characters for certain playstyle. While it is good for the company pocket to create certain playstyle and creating the best DPS, best sub-DPS, best support for the playstyle, I personally think that it is not always the only way to achieve greatness in the game. We, as players, are invested to these characters in gacha games. Hell, there are a bunch of people who still use D-Look and smashing Spiral Abyss to this day. And I expect to see hardcore calcharo player to be still smashing it in 2 or 3 years. But that's beside the point. We, players, like these characters. So, when we use these characters, we like every time there's a chance to do so. Creating too many specific playstyle, in my opinion, will alienate other units fast. HSR is like 1.5 years old. But I feel like using Kafka, a fan favorite limited characters, feels like being a historian nowadays. In the end of the day, in the endgame mode, you probably only need 2 or 3 teams to defeat it. So having way too many specific playstyle, in my opinion, is not necessarily the best thing. While it is good that players swipe their credit card to buy a shiny new toys, I personally think making old characters feel outdated really fast is kinda bummer for some players. Besides, after making specific playstyle for characters and teams, the gacha games always give incentive for players to pull the specific characters for specific endgame, or else they kinda fucked. Yes, Wuthering Waves also implemented that on TOA, but the incentive is nowhere near as big as other games. Yes, in the current TOA, as for December 17, 2024, you are getting slight advantage for using Electro and Avoc. But it doesn't necessarily mean if you aren't pulling for them, you are fucked. Yes, you get Avoc buffs in Resonant Tower, which means your life is much easier if you pull for Camellia. But guess what? The buff applied for Avoc Rover and Dungeon. Yes, you get Electro buffs in Echoing Tower, so your life is much easier if you pull for Yinlin or Xiangliao. But guess what? Calcharo and Lumi can take the advantage of the buff as well. And even then, in TOA, there are 2 buffs in every floor. You can miss the first buff if you used off-banner element, but still, the second buff is absolutely universal that you can take the advantage even when you are using different elements. Meanwhile, in Genshin Impact, when they are selling a plunge character like Shan-Yun, the endgame buffs would be only applied for plunge playstyle, which only benefits Shan-Yun and Xiao. Probably Diluc if you are mad enough to master Dragon Strike. Or in the HSR, when Firefly released, the endgame resolves around Break, so if you are not using Break related team, safe to say that you are going to have at least a bit harder time to beat the endgame content. That is why I absolutely disagree with Fobmaster and Genesat when they throw TOA in the same bracket as Spiral Abyss and Memory of Chaos. Yes, they all DPS check endgame and it is not as fun, but one fuck you much less than the other. And the last point I want to tackle is, no one pulling new characters because they basically function the same. Oh boy, this cannot be further from the truth. In my humble opinion at least. In other gacha games, with less complicated combat style, they have certain way to stir things up, like creating new mechanic, make them OP according to the state of the game, then create characters around that certain mechanic, and sell them. Wuthering Waves stir things up in different way. They aren't just creating new mechanics every other patch, they created a new way of playing with almost every release of new character, even for 4 stars. Although starting roster have their own different playstyles, let's talk about the newly released characters since 1.0. Jian has the best AoE grouping ability in the game so far. He is good against opponents who have many variable attack like both Mavis and Crownless. Yinlin has coordinated attack from her forte. Her way of creating that forte is traditional, but doesn't matter how far the enemies is, if they are already marked, they are getting hit by the coordinated attack. Yinlin is perfect against Resonant Tower or the left side of the tower, or the part 2 of Hazard Tower, if you have problem in grouping enemies. Jinxi is a nuke DPS, highest damage dealer in the game, and has bit of crowd control. Changli is a hybrid character that can perform as DPS and sub-DPS, and can also work flawlessly in dual DPS team comp due to many of her animations can be swap cancel. She is also very mobile and able to chase enemies across the room. Jeje has coordinated attack from her liberation, but her uniqueness came in her forte and she can dodge enemies attack by move in absolute opposite direction where her birthmark placed. And also, unlike Yinlin, she is a single target coordinated attack. Xiangliao is a liberation damage dealer who can work perfectly in hyper carry team or dual DPS team comp. He is the only unit that can slow down time, making life easier if you want to do swap cancel. He is also very mobile and can catch up the enemies like 25 meters away. Shorekeeper is a buffer of critical rate and critical damage, who also has burst damage in her intro skill. Yuohu is a healer to work with roulette mechanic. When you use a liberation, you can choose which buffs or function you would like to choose in certain situation. Camellia can dance in the air, while doing AoE and burst damage. She's also excel in parry just like Qian, although she does more burst damage than Qian, she is a bit lacking in mobility. Lumi is a sub DPS who has implemented mobility mechanic and range attack, so you can play safe if you don't feel like to engage the dangerous enemies. In other way, Wuthering Waves just like any other gacha game, although only has 3 main action buttons, which include attack, skill, and liberation. They managed to create new way of playing and finishing the contents, without making older unit feel shit and outdated. So not just having new animation, a newer character in Wuthering Waves offered overall new experience for the player and new ways to finish the contents. And finally, this is not a shot or downplaying other games such as Genshin Impact or honkaistarrail. In the end of the day, they do what they need to do to get the pack, and I feel like it is completely fine. But what I'm saying is, Wuthering Waves characters are very versatile, so you as a gacha player can insert the characters that you want and you like without feeling bad for not pulling the brand new shiny toy. I understand that the other people might see it differently, but this is my personal opinion regarding the matter. I like Ling Yang. Ling Yang is my favorite character, and I'm confident that I can still use him and clear contents in years to come. Of course, I will pull for other units as well, but then again, one day, when I feel like to use Ling Yang, I know I won't be fucked. Team building in Wuthering Waves is not just about puzzle matching A to A, B to B, but team building in Wuthering Waves offers you a different experience to play the game, where the support of the other games is about skill, ult, and swap. Wuthering Waves make you experience the playstyle of these characters even down to support units. The way you build a team is not just about matching buff to buff, but it is also about playstyle of each unit you put in the team. So that is why I think that team building in Wuthering Waves is the best among big gacha games. It offers the most flexibility without sacrificing tons of efficiency. So I think that's it for today's video. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell, ding ding, so you won't miss my next video when it's uploaded. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye and see you soon. Peace.